Well, personally, I feel disappointed that people have chosen to go out on strike today. I understand there are really strong feelings about pensions, and we absolutely want to ensure that everyone in the public sector, and especially teachers, have decent pensions. But I just don't think it's a good idea to have gone out on strike today. We're still in the middle of negotiations, and the people who really lose out as a result of today's strike are children who are not in school enjoying their lessons, and in particular hard-working parents who've been put to quite a lot of inconvenience as a result of this action.
Well, that was Michael Gove, and as he was saying there, the negotiations between the government and the unions are continuing, but there is a pretty wide gulf between the two sides. When the union leaders arrive here at Methodist Central Hall in about an hour from now, I'm sure that they will continue their attack on what the government wants to do on their pensions. They are saying that it is simply unfair to expect public sector workers to have to wait longer before they can claim their pensions, to increase their contributions, and then to see that pension pot increasing in size at a smaller rate because of the changes to the way that it is linked to consumer prices index in future. The government, for its side, is saying that it is essential to reform public sector pensions, that it's unfair for private sector taxpayers to bear the burden for the pensions that they are enjoying, and also pointing out that with an ageing population, people living much longer, that it is simply unsustainable to have the present system. So there is still a huge gulf between the two sides, but perhaps some room for compromise around the edges when those negotiations continue.
And Carol, if those negotiations don't bear fruit, there is the prospect, isn't there, of much more serious industrial action in the autumn with bigger public sector unions like Unite and Unison and GMB and so on.
That's right. Today we've got just one day of strike action. We're hearing, of course, that quite a few schools have been closed. The Downing Street spokesman is saying that around 25% of schools are closed. At this time of the year, it's perhaps less critical than at other times. But yes, there is the real danger that if the gulf between the two sides can't be bridged in those negotiations, we'll see much more widespread, sustained action in the autumn that will cause a huge amount more disruption. Now, the government has been trying to side with ordinary families, saying that it is unfair to disrupt their lives, for example, by closing schools and so on. But it does know that it has to try to stick to its guns on this, and it is going to be very difficult indeed, I think, to find the sort of compromise that will be acceptable to both sides. So there is this real threat of more industrial action in the autumn. And although, of course, the public may be annoyed at what is happening to them, may blame the strikers in the first case, it is nonetheless true that governments ultimately will bear responsibility for that, that it could rebound very badly indeed on the government. So it is a very, very difficult situation indeed for the government. Interesting that the Labour leader, Ed Miliband, has come out and said that the strikes are wrong, although he says that the government's handling of the issue has been reckless. I think he recognises how difficult this whole issue of pensions is. It's a problem that has been pushed off into the long grass time and time again by governments. But there is the prospect of quite a great deal more disruption, a great deal more public sector strikes in the autumn, unless they can find a way of reaching agreement on this key issue.
All right, Carol, thank you very much indeed. Carol Walker reporting there. Well, this march, which is heading to where Carol is, just getting underway now, a few minutes late, in fact, but it's heading from here, Lincoln's Inn Fields, in rather nice sunshine, actually, and they're marching through Strand, Aldwych, Trafalgar Square, down to Westminster Parliament Square and then to the Methodist Central Hall. But it's one of many rallies, about 70 or 80 marches and rallies going on around the country. Let's just show you the scene here now as they set off very slowly, because there are so many of them packed into this square here, but they are beginning to move. Let's just talk to one or two of the teachers, I think, who are here. Can I ask you why you're marching today?
I think because this is an attack on our profession, not just our pensions. Do people really want 68-year-olds teaching their children? And I think enough is enough. So,
but the unions are still negotiating with the government, so why strike now?
Well, because it takes a lot of organisation to organise a strike with the NUT, and we didn't see any compromises by the government, so we're still showing them that we're actually very angry about this attack on our profession.
Do you think David Cameron will listen and the government will listen?
Well, I hope he does, because we do need to be listened to. It's enough, and we need to do something about it, and strike is sometimes the only solution.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. That's just the view of some teachers here on this demonstration. Of course, thousands of schools in England and Wales either closed or partially closed by this industrial action. 3 teaching unions taking part, and that means that millions of school children are staying at home today. Let's get the view from Scotland. We can go to James Cook, who's in Glasgow. James.
Yes, Ben, thanks very much indeed. A rally just getting underway here in George Square in the centre of Glasgow. The PCS unions say that they estimate around 30,000 of their members are out on strike here in Scotland. We've just been hearing in the past few minutes a couple of speeches here. You can just see the people gathering here to look at those speeches. And Lynn Henderson, the Scottish Secretary of the PCS union, has just been rousing cheers and applause by reeling off some of the areas that have strikes and have pickets today. She was saying, for example, that Clyde Coast Guard is only taking distress calls today as a result of the strike action, that the Faslane Naval Base on the Clyde has been affected as well. She claimed that Marines had to be sent up from York so that the naval base could operate. The Scottish Parliament has also seen a picket as well. Some members of the Scottish Parliament crossing that picket line, some shouts of at them and replies back, I think, as they did so. And also a picket, unusually, at Edinburgh Castle, of all places. Not every day you see strikers outside a castle, but that's what's happening there, where Historic Scotland staff are also unhappy about their pension situation. So that's the situation here in Scotland at the moment, and also affecting a lot of job centres, courts and other government buildings as well. But one thing worth noting, schools not affected here in Scotland. Some are on holiday anyway, but they have a different pensions deal and broadly different union representation here in Scotland. So that's the one thing that's not affected. But the PCS claim that many public services here in Scotland have been hit, although just briefly. Some of the services we've been speaking to insist that they have been able to operate as normal. Ben.
James, thank you very much indeed. That's James Cook reporting for us live there from Glasgow, and the demonstration here in central London beginning to move through the capital. There has been some concern from some of the organisers here that anarchists might try to hijack today's demonstration, cause some trouble. Certainly there's been some talk on websites, anarchist websites, saying that people should come out and show their anger, telling people to wear disguises so that they're not seen on CCTV and police cameras, that they should wear sunglasses and balaclavas and hoodies. And union leaders I've been talking to saying they really don't want anything like that. They don't want this important protest march today, this whole day of industrial action, to be overshadowed or hijacked in any way by any fringe elements. Well, we just heard from James Cook in Scotland. We can go to Colette Hume now, who's in Cardiff. Colette, just bring us up to date with exactly what's happening there where you are and in Wales in general.
Well, Ben, in the next half an hour, we're expecting some of the marchers who are walking through the city centre to reach this Welsh Assembly government building in the civic centre of the capital. Today, across Wales, 40,000 public sector workers are said to be on strike. Now, the vast majority of them are teachers, more than 20,000 teachers on strike, with the result that more than half of all the schools in Wales are partially or fully closed as a result of today's strike action. Pensions are one of the issues that are not devolved here in Wales, and so Welsh Government ministers are saying that they're concentrating on trying to keep public services here in Wales running while the strike is going on. And they've said very clearly that they want to see the unions continue negotiating with the government in Westminster. But as I say, in the next half an hour we are expecting those marchers to cross the city and arrive here at the Welsh Assembly Government Office here in the Civic Centre to begin a rally and march. 40,000 people across Wales have walked out of work today. The public sector is a huge employer here in Wales. 1 in 4 people is employed by the public services. In Swansea, Wales's second city, that figure is 1 in 3. So you can really see quite how important the public sector is. Of course, it's not just teachers who have walked out today. People working in the Department for Work and Pensions have left their desks, have people who are working in the tax office in Llynllysion in Cardiff. The National Library over in Aberystwyth is closed today, as is the National Museum in Cardiff. The Office for National Statistics in Newport is also closed. The feeling I'm getting here is one of real quiet defiance. Certainly from the teachers' point of view, they say they really didn't want to go out on strike, and they're very grateful for what they say is a huge level of support from parents. They're very concerned, they say, that if the strikes go on, that level of support that they enjoy now might start to trickle away. But certainly there is a feeling of quiet defiance here in Wales, and certainly union leaders I have spoken to have told me, Ben, very clearly that they are prepared to walk out again if the government doesn't listen.
OK, Colette, thanks very much indeed. That's Colette Hume reporting for us live from Cardiff. As you can see here, it's a beautiful sunny day in central London, and the public sector workers who are on strike, many of them have come here to join the big march through the capital down to Westminster. It's beginning to set off now. It's moving very slowly. But let's just talk to a couple more teachers who are here. I think you're from a primary school, is it, in London?
Primary school in Newham, Avenue Primary School.
And just tell us why you've decided to go on strike today. Is that a big decision for you?
It's a decision that we've been forced to make because I don't think that public sector workers, including teachers, should have to pay more, work longer and get less for their pensions. It is affordable. Hutton's graphs show that, and we're out today to show the government that we deserve a decent pension.
Some people would say, you know, how can you do this? You've got children who are missing a day's education, they've got to stay at home.
We regret that. Nobody wants to go on strike. I personally know of several teachers that have never struck in a long career and have decided to take that action today because we are so angry. And actually, ultimately, this is an attack on our profession and our professionalism. Ultimately, the damage that it will do to education and future children will be far worse than taking a one-off stand today.
Would you be prepared to go out on strike again over this?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much to you both. I'll let you join the march because, as I was saying, thousands of people, you could just see some of them here now. They brought their children as well, actually. The children
interested in my pension, you know.
Why have you brought your children on this?
Because their schools are closed, my school is closed, but also they want to have their say. They think their dad should get a decent pension to live on when he retires. They don't want to look after me all their life, you know.
All right, thanks very much. So that is the scene here in Lincoln's Inn Fields as this march gets underway. It will be in Westminster for a big rally in about an hour's time. Back to you now.
Ben, thanks very much. Before the headlines here, let me just show you the pictures from the last few minutes from Heathrow.